My name is David Duarte, and this is the second video on eSchool in Deer Valley Unified School District. This is the second part. First part, we covered a little bit about the announcements and the assignments, and we're going to talk about the student orientation. In the assignments, I have created the student orientation as one of my assignments. So as we said in the first video, you kind of have to see how students see it. So this is how my students would see the very beginning of my class. Now, I wouldn't have the Unit 1 available yet, and I'm going to show you a little trick here at the end of this video. But as you can see, the first thing my students would see is this student orientation. And again, this is that icon here where it's just sitting here of it's just what to read. Make sure you've completed the student orientation, now located below announcements. So right here below announcements is the student orientation. And this is where the students would learn how to use the eSchool system. I don't let my students start their class until they've gone through the orientation, because it tells me that they've learned how to make screencasts, they know how to do all those things. It is a very helpful tool. You can see this is a unit. This was not created by me. This was created by the eSchool, and it has all the forms inside of it. There's lesson 1. If you look up here at the top, you can always go back and we go to lesson 2. All the assignments. Okay, again, here's that icon for the assignment. So that would mean you would need to click on that to submit it as a student. This one's worth 10 points. There's not a rubric on this one, but they could do their assignment, browse their computer, click the file, submit it. We can go back to lesson 3 and everything they need to do right here. And again, here's the assignment icon, so they would need to click on that assignment icon. Read the instructions, scroll down, and submit the assignment. So that's the student orientation that I would force my students to complete. And I do force my students to complete because they can't get to their first assignment because I don't let them. So let me show you how I do that. So right here, again, here's the folder icon. So if I click on this, I'm going to go into this folder. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to go back to edit mode, because I can't edit anything when I'm looking at it in view. And you'll see that these little arrows appear. So instead of going inside the folder, I'm going to click on the edit mode. And it's going to come up with all these things: edit, adaptive release. If I click edit, it's going to basically let me edit the unit. Here's the little text that I created inside here. I wanted to include icons and text. I want to track the number of viewers, permit viewers to see this. I can also display it at time. When I first started using Blackboard, I used to have my units appear by date. I learned that was really hard to control because students get behind, students start late, just all the numbers of things. Rather than doing it by date, I started using what is called adaptive release. So to get to adaptive release, you click the arrow and you type adaptive release. So what this says is I want them to create some criteria. So do I want to create by date, which I do not. Membership, I do not. I want it to do it by a grade center item. So the grade center item I want it to do is I have to find it here, is their student orientation test. So when they attempt anything on the student orientation test, which is the last thing they have to do in the student orientation, my class will open up to them. So if you want them to have to get at least like a 1%, you can set that right here. Really, my concern is that I want them to actually just open the test and have gone through everything. And if I hit submit, now it's going to say adaptive release statistics tracking, which means if I go and look at my class, now that unit 1 doesn't appear. I can do that with all these things too. I could take the assignment calendar and have that disappear until they student orientation. But this is basically the first 5 things that my students see before they do things. So it's just basically what they have to do for the class, student orientation, the checking on their computer, and the suggested apps, and my form to collect student information so I can get a hold of them. So that's, announcements we've covered, student orientation now we've covered, assignments now we've covered, and now messages. Messages is a very interesting thing in eSchool because it's not like email. So what I instruct my students, if they're going to contact me, if they need something really quick, I have them either email me or text me so that I can get things open quickly, I don't mind. Or if you're really good about these messages, you're going to have to check these messages often, which is sometimes hard. I've actually had a student where I've checked my messages and they've gone in less than 5 minutes later, and I haven't checked for another 12 hours. And it was something that if I would have just been there, would have been nice to have. But the message system is great for long-term things, not quick fixes. But to create a message, it's just like an email. You know who you want it to send to. Right now, I'm the only person in my class, so I can send myself an email. I can say test, and this is me sending a message. And you can do the same thing like you can. You can actually add a video if you wanted to say, let's see if I can get a video here. I can send a YouTube video. I can do all those kind of cool things here. Grant access. Boy, a lot of things here. But I can do that later. I can include the link, like if you remember, use Google. And then I can tell it to link it to Google. Open in a new window. You can also copy the link and paste it in here. It's just one that's easy for me to remember. And then I can also add attachments if I have pictures or sound files. Mine is a music class, so I have a lot of music files that sometimes they like. And there you can see I have a message in my inbox from myself. And there it is. And this is me sending a message using Google. And that's the basic message. It's just a back and forth. It doesn't inform you when you get a message, so you have to check it often. So like I said, if you're wanting to work with your students faster, you're going to have to come up with a system of your own that works for you. The bottom three down here are really for the students and not for you. Those are their grades. If they have to log their hours in the technical help, you can use the technical help as well. But that's the basics of over here. So the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to just make sure that in the assignments that we are good to understand everything. So I'm going to have to go to edit mode. We'll go into one of my units again. And we go back in unit 1. And you're going to see right up here on the top is all of the tools that you need to create or edit. So like right here, this blue thing is a folder. So if I click on any of these folders, there's things inside. And then I'm always trying to teach my students to look for the protractor here and click on that because that means it's an assignment. But let's go into another folder. So let's go into an assignment folder. So here's activity 1, section 1, and here's what they're responsible. I redundantly put some of their reading links in here. Some of the cool things. Here's a link. Here are some sound files. So I'll show you some examples. So here I've actually included the sound files as separate. So if I click on them, they'll open up for the students. So if I click on this one, we should get Johnny Be Good here in a second. Yep. So there's how to add a sound file. Oh, we lost my class here. Get back really quick. Back into my assignments. Scroll down. Here's assignments at 3. More assignments. But as you can see here, again, something to read. Here's the folder icon, so they need to go inside of there. And then here is the actual submitting of assignment. So if you want to build stuff, you can see right here, here's create an item. That's like the things that I post for them to read. Create a file. For me, it's like adding a music file, a video, any of those things, but you can do them here as well differently. Add an image, video, a web link, anything. Here's the larger things: lesson modules, lesson plans, class outline, class links, content folders, module pages, blank pages, all these things. Here's a bunch of resources people sometimes don't realize they use. I use a lot of YouTube videos in my class, but you can capture them in here. Flickr, SlideShare. Just if you use any of these, you can make them a part. Here's the assessment part. If you need to create a test or just want to do a survey or anything, this is where you would create them. And then here's the tools to create a discussion board. I have one discussion in my class right here. It depends on if you want to use discussions in the class or not. It depends if it's helpful. I think they're pretty cool. And here's really some cool things. I haven't played with all of them. I think I would love to get some of these things. Here's the chat feature I think I would like to use in the future. But for me in my classroom, it's really just about getting the activities in and just making sure that they can understand the icons. All right, so let's go back out here. So here's the assignments, and again, folders and assignments are the two biggies. And one of the other things that I have in mind, I'm going to see, it's right here, Unit 4, is I've created rubrics for all of my assignments. So every time my students submit, there is a rubric that's involved. So if we get into like this major report here, which is the big assignment, here's a rubric for my students. So right here, here's how they get the points for their rubric. And so everything is in here in different scales, and it's really neat is when you use the rubric, you can actually click on them and you can actually give the students feedback with inside of why they got in these boxes within the rubric. So that's something that you really might want to consider adding to your class. I gotta see where it is here. And it's right here in class tools. If you find rubrics, you can actually create rubrics and assign them to anything right here. So here's that rubric that I created. You can edit it with inside here, but you can actually create all of the points. You can weight them, you can add points, you can do many different things. But I have found that these rubrics are invaluable to giving students instant feedback and a reason for the points that they get. My class is really a social studies class that uses music. And here's all my other rubrics for all that I use for my class. But every single assignment in my course has a rubric that goes with it. So looking down here, I just clicked all these arrows. There's these other side things, class tools. That's where I found the rubrics. That's really the only thing that I think I really use. You can create a calendar in here. I use Google Calendar because it's nice to be able to edit. I can just link it inside. Grade Center. Here's one of the cool things. The needs grading is all the ungraded assignments. Right now there's no assignments to be graded, but when your class is running, you'll have all the assignments that you come right here. Or you can do the full grade center, which means you can see every student, every grade. I've tended to use this one because sometimes you'll grade an assignment that a student got a 0 on and they turned in later and you allow them to do it. It sometimes hides behind the 0. So I use the full grade center for all that. Users and groups I don't use. But here's one of the big ones for me is customization. You want to pick teaching style. So in teaching style, this is how you make the class look like what you want. So this is probably one of the most important things. The entry point you want students to come into. So do you want them to come to their grades? Do you want them to come to a message? Do you want them to their assignments, to rotation, or announcements? I tend to have my students go to the assignments page, but for the very first, I set it so that my students have to enter on the announcements page. And then one of the cool things is you can select a class theme. So right now mine's pretty boring looking, and I know there's a music one. Oh, there's a composition one. I don't think I like that. Let's see. There's a bunch of them in here. You can pick anything that you want. There's a cool mosaic one. So if I pick that, that's what my class is going to look like. I can change it so that those icons are buttons, or you want it to be just text. I like to use the buttons here. And then I hit submit, and you're going to notice that my class just changes, and you can see now I have buttons over here. I've got this nice mosaic in the background, but that's all available in customization and teaching style. And that pretty much sums up the basics of getting started. But like I said, I just want to stress that having students having the ability to navigate, find those assignments, find the difference between just like this is a web page, this is a folder, this is another folder, and this is another web page. But really making sure that the students know what every icon means in Blackboard is extremely helpful. So I hope this video has been very helpful for you. You're welcome to contact me anytime, david.duarte@dvusd.org. It's right here. Here's my cell number. You can actually text that if you'd like. You can call it, but I rarely answer this phone number, but I'm more texting. So anyway, hope it's been helpful. Thanks a bunch.